Hello, 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 and good afternoon, everyone. How are you? This is my second time coming live today, which doesn't often happen on a Tuesday, but we are coming live for a very, very special reason. Now, just bear with me, guys, because I'm just going to make sure that I am live where I'm meant to be. Yes, great. I like it when I see myself. It's all the tech stuff, right? Now, guys, we are actually coming live today because we are at the beginning of our journey of our sponsors interviews for our upcoming Heart and Soul Virtual Expo, which is going to happen on October the 9th, 10th, and 11th. So we are very, very excited, and we do have 12 incredible sponsors who we are going to, over the next few weeks, come live and interview. And we're going to learn all about these incredible people and their businesses, how these businesses came to be, and how you can get in contact with them to find out more information, as well as, absolutely, we're going to share with you more about the Heart and Soul Virtual Expo too. So without any further ado, what I would love to do is introduce you to our very first guest today, and that is the incredible Ros Boundy. Now, Ros is from Boomer Press, and Boomer Press, they believe that every life has a story worth telling, and every individual deserves the opportunity to tell that story and to leave a legacy and inspire future generations. Now, that to me is absolutely incredible. I'm not going to say too much more, and the reason is because I really want Ros to tell us all about her business. Hey, Dean, I can see you watching, buddy. So without any further ado, let's welcome the beautiful Ros Boundy. Hello, gorgeous. How are you?
Hi, Ali, and hi, everyone else out there as well. I can see that Helen and Sandra and Dean are there watching, so it's great to have people joining in. And the lovely technology that we have that enables it, because otherwise we wouldn't be here. It's something I've been using for well over the 8 to 10 years as far as live streaming goes. So it's a lot of fun. Great to
you're
be
winning.
here. So thank you.
You're way ahead of me then, Ros, because I've only been doing this type of live streaming with, StreamYard for, well, only a couple of years. So you're ahead of me. There you go.
Oh, look. It was back in the years of when the desktops first became available for personal use. 1983, I was sitting there pregnant, sitting in front of a Micro B personal computer that had the little, the tower with the floppy drive, the 3.5 inch and the 5 1/4 inch. I had one of each, typing away and actually typing in the programs. So that's where it started from, the experience of computing and the technology. I love gadgets. I like pressing buttons, and it's sort of where I started in. It was more for bookkeeping for a business, for our own business, but it has certainly grown into doing, writing, research, all of that sort of stuff that's a lot of fun. Yes, the social media. Yes, the live streaming. I've loved it since even the Hangouts on Air days, the Haps days, which that's disappeared. And there's another one that I used to. It goes back a few years.
I love that, and this is what these interviews are all about, guys. Is to really learn about you and your history. And I've just got to say, I was literally talking to someone. I think it was a post I put on Facebook the other day. I was talking about, I remember the days of the manual typewriters, and then how the electronic typewriter, man, that was just, as Susie Manning would say, the duck's nuts. That just came to electronic typewriters, and then came computers. Well, my goodness.
Yes, I did learn touch typing on a manual tap, 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 tap keyboard, and I got up to 69 words a minute, which at that stage was top notch. I was at the top of the class, teacher's pet, all of that. So I was the first one in the class to use the first electric typewriter in the class. It was a big buzz. It was just great fun. Well, it's the skills that we pick up as we move along and learn with what technology is available. I wonder sometimes about those in this generation that are learning things what is next and what they've missed out on with the old-fashioned way of doing things manually. It's not possible now. You cannot do it. So, yes.
I know, exactly. And you think about, and I know that there's a post going around on Facebook, it's been going around for a while, think about all the things that people in our generation have grown up with and all the change that's happened, like the development of computers and mobile phones, and my kids who are now almost in their 30s would not know how to live without that stuff. They'd go, what? You didn't have mobile phones? What were these things where you actually had to dial?
Yes, even the older ones that was the little tube that was hanging off a hook.
Yeah.
That when you released it, it dinged into a telephonist in the main building at the local town, and you'd go, hello, into this tube. I was there at that point just before it went to the dial phones. Party lines first and then the dial phones. Look, it's those sorts of stories that I would love to have people really recount from their own experience, their own stories, is why I decided, yes, look, I am going to start Boomer Press as a business, not just my own personal publishing press. So that's the why. These stories, they're lost if we don't tell them, and so many different nuances per person. It's wonderful to hear everybody's story when you're chatting, like over the coffee. You're chatting about something, I remember when. Well, you don't remember if it's not in writing. That's where I've got to now. I don't remember unless it's in writing.
Exactly. And so we've got some memories. We've even got some memories coming up now of trying to phone into the radio station, having to wait for the dial to go back red. Yeah, I know, right? Oh my God. Now you just press the repeat button. Actually, me and my partner, we were trying to do this the other day. I think we were trying to, I don't know what we were trying to win. A ticket to an 80s party or something. So he was doing it on his phone and I was doing it on my phone, and we didn't get in. And Dean, baby boomers are the ones who have seen more new technology than any other. Yeah, absolutely, Dean.
That's so true.
I think this is fascinating. So we're going to get to hear all about Boomer Press shortly, Ros. What I would love to know is, because, I've known you for a little while. You are my fellow Adelaidean. I love that.
Yes. Yes,
and then
Adelaidean.
I know you have run several businesses. So how have you come to be in business altogether? I know that's a big question.
Yeah. Look, it did start, the usual thing of being brought up on a farm, doing milking and chores and all that sort of stuff, and growing up in a local area school. So it was the start from, I think they call it R to 12 now, that type of thing. But it's just an area school at the time I went. Went to year 12, matric, flunked it because I was more interested in boyfriends at the time, or boyfriend, not boyfriend. Anyway, we ended up marrying and starting family fairly early, built a business from the ground up. So when we started, we were out there, it was just a hammer mill doing sheep manure. So we bought that little itty bitty business, started doing that under sharing sheds, getting, because I was the smallest, I was the one getting the sheep manure out in the paddocks, getting cow manure that had dried, building up a business from that type of basis of organic manures, potting soils, manual labour, changing into bigger equipment, going to cow yards to scoop it out in bulk, and growing into an earth-moving business. So as that grew over the first 15 years, I had to learn bookkeeping to run our books and do all of that. So, the office management, that sort of thing, payroll. You just do what you need to continue the growth. And it did grow into quite a big business. And I decided after 30 years, I think it was, you can only live with a workaholic for so many years and things, I had decided to move on from that and become independent again and single. So go back to, how did we start that? There wasn't any point of the start of that. So I just grew into doing therapy. So I learnt massage therapy, hypnotherapy, sound therapy, and have done that for a few years, just as a independent, self-employed, whatever you want to call it. Was it in business? My accountants kept calling it hobbies. And I thought, well, no, I'm treating it like a business. But it's that, where is the level of success? I was happy doing it how I wanted to, not how the system did it.
Fair enough.
So, seeing that was part of my story, and then, that the others around us, the stories that they grow for themselves as well. Both mum and dad, at their end of life, I looked after mum after dad passed. So there was that carer role. And hearing some of the stories that they had, I thought, oh, yeah, I knew some of them, but not all of them. And then I sort of, once mum had passed and doing, deciding what do you do next, I do actually still want to put forward some of what dad had in his diaries from when he started at 21 to his 75s, he was writing in his diary. So there's, 50 years of diaries.
So do you have all them?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Or read through them so that instead of typing it up, because it's funny with the technology we have, how unused to using our hands in handwriting we've become. And it's keyboard work. And even now that's starting to get tiring because there's so much to do. And how do you plop the book in front and type at the same time? It's ways to figure things out. There's a way to do everything. So I might even just, transcribe it to Google Docs. You click on the microphone and it'll type to text for you from your voice. So many different ways to do things. So it's in that vein that I don't necessarily want to just print up his diaries. I just want to create a story from what his life has been. It's not a memoir or anything. I can't ask him anymore. He has passed. I can't ask mum anymore what detailed of experiences. They told us some of the funny stories, but they're gone because I didn't write them down at the time. They didn't. There is a book he wrote because I helped dad write. Yeah, he's done 3 books. So that's part of the influence of why I want to write as well. But I always liked reading and thought, I might write one day. Well, the one day comes and you put it off. And some of this really needs to be put down in writing before it is too late. Don't leave it too late until it is too late. So that's why I'm pushing now to really encourage people. Write it down somehow, some way. You don't have to type. You don't have to handwrite. You can speak it into a phone and get the machines, the AI to transpose it, transcribe
There's actually a program called Otto.
Otto.ai.
OTOI or something it is. It's brilliant.
It is.
You know what's grabbing me is everything you're talking about as you are speaking, Ros, all this stuff downloading into me, and I'm going, oh my God. And I'll give you some examples. So yes, I have my own story to tell, and I am that person who keeps putting it off because every year on my vision board I put, you're going to write your book this year, Alex. I've got a story to tell. And it's 3 years later and I still haven't started. So maybe this conversation had to be had. But there's like my grandpa, we've always said in our family that my grandpa, he was a very individual man and he had his own language. And us as a family, we remember him. Me and my siblings remember him. My children, more so my son, he just remembers him. But we always said that we should do a Jack Driver dictionary because he had his own language. And I had the idea to do it and I never did it. And now I couldn't for the life of me remember all of that stuff. And like you say, that now has gone. It's past. Whereas my grandma, who was married, obviously grandma and grandpa, they were married. Grandma, she did publish books. She illustrated and published children's books. So that's her legacy that she actually had. And I have original copies of those books. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening to you and you're getting me excited.
Yeah. So one that Dad did that I'd really like to actually publish, but because he is not alive anymore. I cannot ask permission. So, of course, it's not going to be a public book because there's that sort of stuff that comes into it as well. So there's some things you've got to be a bit careful about how it is written, especially around permissions. But, yeah, I noticed Martine's comment there as far as the waiting for change in a shop. I definitely remember exactly that. I think their name were Verco in Millerton's, my hometown, York Peninsula, Central York Peninsula. And it was the guy thing that went across the roofs, and you sent it up to the bookkeeper up the top and you heard it come whizzing back with a mighty sound. It was so much a surprise, like you just wondered as kids, littlies, looking up, seeing this thing flying across the roofs. I think they were called flying foxes even. You know, it was just so fun to stand there and watch. They go into town with mum and dad watching this thing fly across the room, get the receipt back, wait for the attendant to give it to you. Yeah, the days.
That's right. That's what it's all about. The days, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
You mentioned something interesting just then, as in permissions. And that's something that, you know, I've always wondered, because like I mentioned, I have a story to tell personally, right? But it is very personal. There's a lot of people that I want/need to mention in the book, but I also want to protect their identity, because some of the things might not be very positive that I say, right? But it is reality. So how do you go about that if you can't, and even if you can't necessarily get their permission?
Look, it is changing names and being able to just change stories ever so slightly that it's not completely identifiable as particular people. There are ways that you can do it. Anyone can actually write under a pseudonym or a pen name, so that there's less identification with specific people. If it depends on the purpose. Do you want it to be family that know that you've written this and that they can contribute, and you're doing it like a or biography, as compared to whether it's a memoir? Because there is a difference. I've only just found that out in taking this pathway of learning craft writing for myself, that I'm learning, as well as what I've learnt to be a publishing style of business as well. So, you know, I've done some study on it and everything. So knowing when to do the various types of things you need to do depending on the purpose. So that's why it's very much an individual pathway as to which way you actually step through writing, publishing, and whether you're making it public to, you know, being able to put it on the Amazons and the the Barnes and Noble, and I can't think of the other names. Ingram Sparks and all that sort of stuff. You know, being publicly available, or you just order it, putting it there to be a print on demand, buy enough for your family supply. And the other way is to actually go to private publishing houses, which when Dad was doing his books, I went with him to Abbott's up in Adelaide, because they're a publishing company, and that's how Dad decided to do his. So that you had to actually have the cash to start with to buy over 100 books, and then you had to sell them or give them away. It depends what the purpose is. So, or get a one of the biggie publishers to pick it up for you, which is extremely hard to do unless you're well known. You know, that they do the publishing for you. So, you know, there's so many different ways of being able to do it now. So, it's good fun finding out all this.
I have no doubt, because I mean, you know, I also know I read a book, and what would I call it? An autobiography, I think I'd call it, from a lady in America who had a very similar story to me, but she wrote under a pen name originally. Then what happened is she got picked up by a publisher, and she republished under her real name. And I'm like, what the? You know, it did like it's you think that it's so easy, but there's so many more ins and outs to it, isn't there? Even you said there's a difference between memoirs and an autobiography. I've got no idea what that is.
Well, memoirs, autobiography by its very name is that you are virtually publishing or writing your own book, your own story. Biography, someone else could be writing it about another person. And
Yes,
whether there's interaction with that person or not, it just depends. The memoirs can be a themed story about a particular part of your life or someone else's. Usually, I think from what I'm learning, that is more so yourself, your own story that you're writing up as a memoir. I'm still learning that process because, there's so much to learn. We're never finished. So,
no,
and then, you're moving into, well, that's not the only things you can write. You can write fiction, you can write non-fiction. There's a whole realm of different types of books that you can delve into if you feel that you want to, or that you've got something to share with others in an educational way, or, there's purpose, different reasons.
Exactly. That's for me personally, that's what my ambition is. Oh, hello, we got puppy.
I have. She's usually quiet.
Oh, that's
He,
all right.
actually, that's he.
It's real life.
Yes.
But I have a story to tell, but what I also want to do is make it educational. I want my story to mean something, to educate other people, how not to, what to do and what not to do.
Can I just let the dog out?
Go ahead, love. How cool is this? Hey, Lisa. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Kim. We've got heaps of people jumping on. This is really cool. Hi, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this, and I hope you guys are really getting, the idea and in your head of how many different ways there are to tell a story in writing. I think a lot of us these days, even like you said, in regards to writing versus typing and reading versus watching. Yes. How different is it to actually get someone, I find it's hard to get my kids to sit down and read a book.
Yes. Well, it's one of those things, as I have done when did I start that? 2022, 21? Anyway, a little while ago, doing a very large investment into myself as far as education and learning the process of writing for non-fiction and the process to make it more a business type of thing. That was the intention of it. Didn't quite deliver the full thing around the business stuff, still more to learn. But it is the fact that we all have something that we know that could be put into a non-fiction, like a more educational one. It depends on your purpose again. But we all know something. So, from who you are, you can educate, teach, show as a non-fiction style. And then, you've still got that opportunity to do something along the memoir line of your own experience. That can be part of the non-fiction. Then you can create a story that makes it from a fiction story point, but teaching in that way. Or it can be definitely memoir about your own journey, experience like it. So, there's many different ways of doing that. But we tend to say, no, I'm not good enough for that. But actually we are, because there's other tools that can be brought into play, such as, the editors that you find behind the scenes that can guide you for a developmental edit, to guide you in the flow of the story. Even if you're not perfect, the first writing is only the first draft. And then you go through the process of perfecting and getting the flow and creating something that really is educational or entertaining, or wow, that's really interesting, the experiences she went through or he went through. It's just so much variety and possibilities. And the other thing I was going to say, you mentioned about the different ways, being able to watch or read, because part of that process is we did the print as in e-book, paperback book and audio book. So we've done all three as part of that journey. I didn't used to like listening to books, because my idea is when you read a book, you're putting your eyes to paper and reading the words. I've just started listening to books because I had to listen through my own book that was created in audio to see, was there mistakes or did I like it? So you listen to it and I thought, actually, it's not too bad hearing it. Not my voice. I haven't done that yet. I want to.
I wondered.
I want to. I haven't done it yet. That's another learning curve because there is skills in that too. But I've started to listen to books, audio books, and I'm thinking I go to sleep by them now. And I'm enjoying it. And I think, well, the easiest way to do a first edit is listen to it read back for you, because when you're hearing it, you hear the mistakes. So good way of doing it, just a tip. So if you're writing even marketing material in your business, if you're writing a blog or anything like that, get the system to read it back to you and you'll know whether it sounds right or not.
Wow. See, I wouldn't have thought of that. And I hear what you're saying about, it's interesting because I have always been, up until recently, personally, a reader. I've loved reading. But see, this is the funny thing. Since really getting serious and running this particular business, I have gotten lazy and I've stopped reading. And I've got to be honest, but I have gone to audiobooks and I thought they were stupid. So when I first saw them, I thought, who's going to listen to a book? That's ridiculous. But now when I go for a walk, what do you think I do? I either put music on or put an ebook on. And I find myself getting so into this audio book that I'm talking to the
okay.
I know you should see it because I'm currently listening. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a fiction book.
Yes,
to kind of get out of reality for a bit. Audiobooks are great, Helen. I agree. It's interesting, and I wouldn't have thought that would be something I would enjoy as someone who grew up reading books all the time.
Yeah. I can remember the days when I was doing school because I was a prolific reader, and I'd be under the bedclothes with the torch reading because Mum and Dad didn't like me staying up so late to read. So I'd be there with the torch at 3:00 in the morning, finishing off whatever series I was reading. So I did read a lot. What surprised me, though, with audiobooks, I've got a friend who is a prolific audiobook reader. And that's where, the discussions of it. I tried one. It was, I think, the Fourth Wing. Anyway, it's a fantasy thing. I thought, actually, this is pretty darn good. I quite enjoyed it, so that's fine. It was plain. It was the narrative being spoken. The next follow-on was the dramatized full production version of the next series that this one was. And I thought, God, I hate it. I just did not like all the music and the different voices with sound effects and everything. I didn't like the full production. So I've got to find the one that, follows on, that is the plain narrative. Whether they offer it or not, I haven't found out yet. So it's really picking your style. And if there's a voice that you don't like, I'm not going to bother reading that, listening to it. I'll find the book.
Yes, I agree.
My youngest son was never, ever a good student at school. He hated reading. He didn't like writing much. He was a hands-on person, and he ended up going, following on in the earth-moving business type of thing, worked for a short time with his dad in the business that we'd created, but ended up going over west. And he's on the biggest machines you'd ever see in the gold mines or in some of those mines. He says he reads books all the time, like does the audio book stuff all the time now. He's sitting there with the joystick doing earth moving stuff, and what else is he doing? I thought, wow, I never thought he'd be a reader. And he actually does read more books as well, physically, as well as listen. So you never know where your education's going to take you. The right time, it brings you to what you need to know.
You are 100,000% agree. I mean, and you think about, like some people, and I don't want to be disrespectful here, I hope I'm not being, but people who are dyslexic might find audiobooks much easier to read or listen to. Very inspiring. There you go.
Yes, I'm seeing what Tony's saying too. She gets got lazy and not reading, but love the audiobooks. There's so many like the tools to create them that we don't even have to speak our own, and it sounds like our own voice if we train the AI tool to do it. I'm starting to try in those, but But I like the nuance of someone's real voice. So I hope they never actually replace that. I think we do need to have that. That's the real human factor in how we're producing this.
I think so too. And I have to say, one of the first audio books I listened to was actually by my mentor, Denise Duffield Thomas. And
Yeah.
very, very, her very first audio book's called Lucky Bitch. And wow, it was in her voice. She is so Aussie. I love her. And she made so many mistakes. I think from memory, that was her first book. It was self-published, self-recorded, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And I actually sat back after listening to that and went, you know what? She's Australian. She's a woman. If she can do it, I can do it. She did it in her house.
Absolutely.
What's my excuse? It's kind of, you know.
Yeah, we put ourselves down too often in not being good enough, when actually wherever we are right now in who we are and what we're doing and how we present it is what people actually do want to listen to, what they want to read, who they want to learn from. So, you know, we need to just be out there doing what we need to be doing.
I know, we're so right. And, you know, and even like I was saying before, you know, I was saying how my grandpa had a story. My grandma did really put stories out there in the form of kids' books. She used to actually read my brother, who's 13 years younger than me, and you'll love this. See, everyone's got a story to tell. He was 13 years younger than me, and when he used to sleep over at her house quite often, and she made up this character called Tricky Trumper.
Oh gosh.
And it was literally this being with a trumpet for a nose. Anyway, and she ended up writing a story down. We actually have the original hand-drawn version that she did with her writing on it. And we also have then the published version that she went and did. It is, you think about that and you go, wow, Grandma passed away, 12 years ago now. And if she hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have even remembered that story.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Even to the point where, you know, my mum passed away 14 years ago. And I think, you know, even at her funeral, the stories that my dad was telling, so I knew nothing about that. If only Mum had put that down in writing. And you're so lucky to have, you know, was it your dad's diaries? My mum didn't keep diaries.
Yeah.
I'm just getting so excited, Ros.
Well, I think scattered in amongst Dad's stories, there might be one or two that Mum herself has written. And what is also a treasure is actually seeing the handwriting, because both unique, different styles of handwriting. And it does reconnect us with the experience of them being at their table, desk, wherever they were at the time that they were writing these up. It just has that time connection, even though we're only trying to picture it in our minds. But it's that connection with wanting to tell the story, even if it's just in a diary entry, you know. So it's I'm so pleased that Dad had written what he had, but it just didn't include the funny stories that I wanted him to put into it. But it was his book. I couldn't tell him how to do it. I'm going to continue on with that. You know, it's just...
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it does need to be in writing or photographs, because there's so much... I mean, I think sometimes we overdo that. I hated having my photo taken when I was a kid, as an adult even. But I look back now and think, in my family, my own family, as in my husband and I and 4 kids, there's not many photos that I'm in because I was the one taking them, because I didn't like being in them. And I sort of think, I actually wouldn't mind having seen some of those with me in them now, you know, too late. Yeah. It's all of that connection that we can bring into it as well. Yes.
So tell us, so there's all the different ways. So tell us where, because I know Boomer Press is rather new. So tell us where you're wanting to take it. Because I love, there's nothing I love more than talking to someone who's just, you know, developing something new in business. Tell us where you want to take it.
Look, I see the platform that I learnt on through her name was Sophie Howard, and it's whatever it's called, and the courses and the links and the coaches and all that sort of stuff. Wonderful way to learn, but it's not what I want Boomer Press to be. I want it to be the simple startup, and now that I've gone through what I've learned, there are connections that I can make to the right people that can do. I want to write the courses themselves. There's only going to be the 3 basic courses that I'll do, but there's so many really good resources from the coaches and teachers that I had, that they're themselves growing the learning spaces for authors, new authors, or people who want to do specific non-fiction. There's ways of directing. So I want to be more that conduit to help others. I can proofread and edit and do some of the more basic things and the basic courses, but it's having a space that anyone that does write something through me, I want to host them on my space as well in the Boomer Press authors, but also have a specific area that is Boomer Press Memoirs. So it's got resources that I'll build in there that helps people, be guided to what is the next step for doing a memoir, or look, go to this place to, to get the various types of editing, or I can actually have a chat with someone and do an actual plan and give a rough guidance around cost and all the rest, to have that step by step for people individually. Of course, that would be a little more in costing, because there's that process, as you do with anything, because publishing per se is not a cheap process, but it depends what your purpose is. So it does need to have different editing, there's 3 forms of editing that you should do. And then there is proofreading. Then there is a cover to be designed, better to be designed by professionals, but you can do them yourselves. And, it's the various steps. I want to be that bit that is the conduit to help people discover their own way, or help do it with them, or do it for them. There's various levels. It's all pretty much more an individual, let's have a chat. And that is, the connection for that is boomerpress.online. So I'm just going to have the one website. Yeah.
And I went to your website just before this, and I noticed that you've got 3 different courses that you are in the process of creating. I'm aware of that. So when are you going to launch those courses? Do you have a date at the moment, or are you just taking expressions of interest?
Expressions of interest, no, I am expecting to do that first step course. I don't know what the notes are here, what I'm labeling them as far as the course names. I haven't started to actually write it down. It's the ideas yet. But certainly that will be mid to late September for that basic one first. It's the first step to take as you're wanting to do your own autobiography or memoir, or whatever way you want to call it. Okay. It will be more defined once I've got an idea, because I'm quite open to feedback in how people act, like how or what they'd actually like to know first, as they're taking these steps along memoir or autobiography or biography. The middle one, that's about 3 modules that will start that process. The main course, like the second one, that's the advanced one, would be, I think I've got 9 modules at the moment planned, but it could expand out to 11 or 15. I'm just not sure what's going to be contained in that. I'm growing it as I go, because I'm learning as I go too.
The way it goes, isn't it? I've been there.
And the signature one really is, I have purchased a program that's called the Roadmap 3, that is an educational tool. It's a specific marketing resale rights, but I want to redo it so that it is the full thing in my voice style, sort of, so that it is the building a digital business around publishing rather than what it's actually designed for. That's going to take a bit longer, so that could be 3 to 4 months before that's actually out and published. So launched. So just keep an eye on the site. I'll send out Well, for those who
on,
want to be in the know, sign up expression of interest, and you'll be then put on a list that I can send out updates as they progress. So that's the expectation. Sometimes life gets in the way.
My beautiful assistant, would you mind if you go into the description of this event, you can find the link for Boomer Press in there. If you wouldn't mind popping that in the comments for us. So, guys, if you want to, put in your expression of interest, that would be amazing. Something I'd love to just clarify is, are these courses, will they be recorded? Will you be doing them live? How do you know how you're going to do it yet? Or
I was only having a discussion with the person who will be my first student, because part of what Susie's 5 Foot Rope online virtual expo was the 2 of the prize vouchers were for this course. So she's one of the 2 that I've spoken with, one. and I sort of asked her what way she'd do it. And it certainly is going to be live combination with recorded, with either PDFs or something like that as worksheets or whatever. I really do like the live and interactive form of doing it. So whether it's a Zoom-like type of a platform, which I have in Soul Software, it can be, I think that's probably where it might be started from, but with the evergreen of what is available as a person is able to do each of the modules. But I do either a weekly or a fortnightly catch-up questions, office hours, whatever it's going to be called. It's fun. I do know that because I've been part of those types of things already. So, yeah.
It is. Yeah, and as someone who creates courses all the time, I know that it is not an easy thing to put a course together. It doesn't matter whether it's small or big. It's not easy. There you go. You've got a couple of expressions of interest. We've got Tony.
Oh, great, Sarah.
We've got Sarah, go and count me in. Boom. Look at that go. Boomer Press.
Yeah.
Boom. I love it.
And once you actually do go into the Boomer Press online, you'll see the tabs that are at the top. Have a look at the other fellow authors that I learnt with. I have actually included their books in there. You'll see some of the types of books. They've done their fiction. They've listed their fiction ones in there, I think. I don't think I've got a non-fiction, but I'm wanting to put theirs in minor non-fiction, the 2 that I've got there. And I'm writing as Abigail Betts, so I'm using a pen name. But the story around that is my legal name is still Ros Betts. I've just gone back to my maiden name of Ros Boundy, legally still, because you can. So,
that's right.
I've technically got the 2 names, but I decided on Abigail because Gail is my middle name. So there's the Gail, and Abigail sounded cool. So, there's various ways you can choose pen names even, and it's meaningful. The same as Boomer Press is, because one street over that way, or whichever way I'm looking, is Boomer Beach, which is where I live. I'm at Port Elliot, and Boomer Beach is a street away. And I thought, well, Boomer Press, why not? And I'm part of the baby boomer generation. So yeah.
Well, there you go. It all comes about, doesn't it? Wow, I love that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun trying to decide, because it's one of the things when you start to do something, business names. When you're starting a business and you're really wanting to get in there, and you think, oh, got to choose a name. Oh, I've got to register one.
Yeah.
Oh, what do I choose? My first business name on my own was Rainbow Gold Bodywork, not press, Rainbow Gold Bodywork, because that was my initials, RGB. So I thought, oh, that sounds all right. Well, it's very old hat now. It doesn't exist, as in I deregistered that. that was a baby business start, that one. But we've got to start somewhere.
In past, and you just go, what was I thinking? And then suddenly when you're trying to decide, it just comes to you, doesn't it? It's like, oh, boom, there it is. That's what's happened here.
Yeah.
Good thinking. Ros, I like that with the business name. Yeah, that's actually a very clever way to come up with it. I love it. Ros, I want to say thank you so much. Do you have one piece of advice that you would like to leave to those of us, and I say us because I'm included in this, who are thinking about putting their story into words?
Start now. Don't leave it too late until it is too late. And especially if you're asking your parents or relatives for information and their stories, if it's theirs that you're wanting to do. Because I almost did, well, I have, or did with my parents. So don't leave it too late until it is too late. Start now. That's the biggest piece of advice I'd give anyone. Get it in writing. Get your bits together.
You were staring into my soul while you were saying that.
I look at mine and think, oh, shame I didn't do it earlier. But, that's past history. Do it now.
It is. It's not too late. So there you go, guys. If you want to do it, start now. Guys, thank you. I want to say thank you so much, Ros. This has been an absolute pleasure.
Oh,
I cannot wait. I've learned a lot today, and now I can't wait to go into the expo and shout you out as an incredible sponsor. I want to say thank you for being a sponsor of the Heart and Soul Virtual Expo. I'm really, really looking forward to learning more from your lives in the expo. That's going to be exciting.
Pleasure.
And thank you so much for coming and sharing us all about you. Ros, I'm going to drop you down in the waiting room.
Yes.
That's right.
Green room.
Yes. Don't go
Thank you, everyone, as well.
There you go. How cool was that? I think that I have had, because thank you to the beautiful Ros, I've had a fire lit up under my arse to get stuff happening and put my own story out there. But guys, again, if you would like to know more about Boomer Press, Parme has put the link in the comments there for the website. Just head over. Please pop your expression of interest in for those courses. I'm certainly going to be doing that. And hopefully I'm sure Ros will have something really incredible to share with us in the weeks and months to come. Guys, as you can see, I just want to mention one more thing before we finish today, is that if you would like to join as a visitor for free in our October Heart and Soul Virtual Expo, you are welcome to head over to our Heart and Soul Virtual Expo group. You can join as a visitor. Guys, you don't actually have to wait until October to go and check out what our wonderful stall holders have to offer. We already have albums. People are busy setting up their albums ready for the 3 days. You can go and check that out right now if you like. It is 100% free to join. Unfortunately, we are sold out of stall holder and sponsorships, which is incredible. This is actually the first time this has ever happened, so it's exciting. It is a great idea, isn't it, actually, putting your memoirs and your story in? Yeah, thanks, Helen. But as I said, if you would like to come and join the Heart and Soul Virtual Expo for free, guys, as a visitor, just click on that link, come and join the group. We would love to have you, and check out all the bargains. We're going to have free trainings and free lives happening all throughout the day, as well as you will have the opportunity to win one of thousands of dollars worth of prizes throughout the 3 days. So would love to see you there. All right, guys, thank you for joining us today. We have another sponsors interview coming up tomorrow with Carly and Micken. We will see you then. All right, everybody, see you later.